Hi, I'm doing another video. Um, I don't purport to have all the information. Only thing I can tell you is that I'm finding, you know, anyone who is dealing with a situation where they have little information and they've been cast out for some reason, it's not by chance. And I'm finding, I've lost my jobs. I have been on the brink of losing my home. Let me fix this. Um, and I have been on the brink of a self-discovery after those things. And the American format is if a person does not find a job, that they create their own job or create jobs, for themselves and others. And I believe I was on the way to doing that. And I am deeply hurt behind the fact that I did not have that ability to do that. I think my mom, when I was a kid, she was able to talk to that issue and about small business or developing a business for a family, and she called it a family business. And this was in right around 76 or 77, um, at the height of small business development, I guess. And there were small businesses before, like, mom and pop stores and everything like that, in the North. And I guess, my family had a mom and pop store too. And, I joined the Army to actually see the world and develop collateral, or a brand in which I could use my name to get a loan. And, I did not see, I mean, I guess I did try. In 1990, I was trying, to develop something for myself that would either A, given me credibility in the military, or B, given me a business brand that I would develop on my own. And for the many years, or maybe the first 10, well, maybe 15 or more years of my life, I have or was thinking of things or problem solving of things based upon my encounters of my environment. And, I would pick, anomalies, to create an avenue to improve them. And this was, during a viable time in society when that was possible. Maybe I was one of the first to think of certain things, and, um, and for whatever it's worth, let me get my drink. Um, I just wasn't the first one to take it to market. But what I'm finding disturbing is that throughout my life, there was evidence of mind control or wiretapping or other issues that um, make other people involved. And, I'm trying to delineate that most of that as circumstantial, or maybe to the point where it's like a hodgepodge of information that the CIA is using to not discredit me altogether. But, on one hand, there's James Cuneo and his plans to defame me, which he has been doing for 17 years, or after the fact of 17 years, which he alleges that he has raped his daughter. And so all these complicated issues after the fact, or after I couldn't find a job, they stink. But they're not all me. That's not all who I am. And never have I ever um, said to myself, do I make up the environment in which, or am I made up of the environment in which I come from? What I do think that I have the ability to make more friends or meet people who have similar needs and goals that I have. And for whatever reason, when I do that, I'm hearing that either Mae Brown or Jane Addams Martin or Harry Windsor or Meghan Markle are using schizophrenia and SATCOM to communicate with other people, and SATCOM via EMF wireless technology. So the SATCOM is one part of it, and the EMF is the other. And the EMF is a carrier of the information, which is encoded by the person and decoded or expressed in certain ways, like either another message to another person, or in this situation, that decoding is a process of using that information to harm and extort someone. And look, this is just a byproduct of the carrier or using that information, or how they're even doing it is basically. And then another part of that decoding is what they're receiving in their dreams, which is an influence of belief, which is not a normal part of the process to an extent, where if it's the government and they're knowingly doing it to disrupt, excuse me, this world, or to obtain something they never would have obtained. That is known just simply as an abuse of powers. So they wrap it up. That's over and done with. That's something that I took to the U.S. Merit Services Protection Board to have them hear about that case of abuse of power, which it was PPP that was cited on the forms. It came back as whistleblower enhanced protection, and then the judge kicked it out because lack of jurisdiction over DLA, which is like, I don't know if that's right, because honestly, PPP was not kicked out of the Office of Special Counsel for a remedy at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is an agency within the DLA. And so basically what I'm getting at, I believe dreams were used to influence most of the people, the way they act and the way they carry out things. And they're also using, other forms like verbal communication. But for the most part, many of the people who are experiencing dreams are people in or from my town. And so, I wouldn't have this problem. Let me see if I can try to get back to where I'm saying, the concrete evidence on my part is the fact that I can go back and name almost everything that was stolen from me by generic or based on thought, which has been they have tried to emaciate that information out of me. So they knew what I knew about myself. They knew what I thought, and they knew I would remember, but I was fast tracking. I actually got away from modern America because I felt that, based upon my physique, that I would live a modest life, and that that modesty would be clothed in a uniform. I was not Muslim, and I did not want to be Muslim to wear a habaka, and I did not want to be a nun any longer. So anyway, I was trying to find a way where I could fit in and learn how to be assertive, as well as aggressive at times. And this process that I find myself after 2012, after Richard Ellis said he would be working closely with Pamela Tull to do something, Jane knew. She knew what it was. She almost took me by the hand, and it seemed like she was tearful. And she also, in 2012, not 12, but 2017, said to me after what happened to me in the hospital, that it was up to the powers that be that I got my job back. But she asked me if I was all right. But, I didn't know what to ask her, because I thought she would declare or determine that I was crazy, and that she would tell the federal agency or Office of Management and Office of Personnel Management not to hire me back. And so I wanted my job back, because I thought, the best thing for me to do would be to work. And now I'm finding, after all that has happened, that Pamela Toll, and here's the part of mind control which does not make sense. Why would you? I mean, she knows like the caliber of my information, and a lot of it could have used a little bit more work because I didn't have a lot of market experience, and a lot of the stuff I was writing in my bachelor's of science class was based upon my own knowledge. And she knew the caliber of my work, and it was stolen. And she allowed Harry Windsor, a skep at the time in 2007, to steal my homework. I believe they probably went back and stole more of my homework. And there was a transition from, in my learning based on the Bloom's taxonomy, how information was being encoded and decoded, because I myself knew that there was a difference in how I was actually citing information or referencing information from um, books that I was using before 2007. So based upon what she has done, she learned how to, I guess, get people to comb through my homework, because I was the only person, I guess, who had the aptitude as a small child to want to pay attention to certain things, and they listened to me do that. And when they listened to me do that, they actually said, well, hey, why don't we compare her to Jane? And so if what they say is true, as of today, that Jane was emaciated as a person, and then they made her feel like she was super, they also gave her drugs to make her do certain things. And those drugs made certain other things happen. The collection of molecules, um, I guess, certain collection of molecules to make things sizable uh, when they were in my body, which kind of does not make sense. That's one part of what I've gone through does not make sense. How does something enter my body that has a voice and sounds like a person? Actually, it was no. Actually, it was something in my body that was sizable, like the crowns they were making and shards of blood, I guess, that they or things inside the blood they were taking out of it, which actually never even processed out. That they were cutting me inside, and so whatever things inside of me were doing those things to me, um, Jane was there, and when I talked to her, I just thought that she would understand, or based upon what she knew could help. And so based upon what they were able to take out of my body, those sizable things are no longer around. They cut me up last year. And when you feel pain, your body can't process anymore. I mean, and the amount of pain that they put me through, um, you can't process it. And then I don't have a mind, and they call that not a it's a hyperestomy, or a total brain um, exclusion, to the point where there's no more brain. And um, I'm scared. I am scared. There's nobody here to help me. Um, I survived, and um, I you know I don't know how many people are like that, and so maybe that's just not what I want to talk about. Because on the other side of that, Harry, who has been put involved in this, um, told the world that he wanted to cut me up and eat me or hit me, which the hitting part was something that came from my psyche, maybe something that he and Megan has or have already done to people, hit people in the head and killed them. He said that he taught Lucy Laws, not Lucy Laws, but um, Katie Lowe's something, which may or may not be true. He may be lying. Many of these people do not tell the truth. And the only thing I have to go by is, the fact that I've done my due diligence. I've asserted myself when it came to using jurisdiction within DLA, who have sponsored so many things against me since I was a child and has followed me all my life. And Richard Ellis, he wants to pin this on my family. My mom knows about it. Um, you know, I don't know if any of these people, and I really already thought that, there would not be a homecoming, meaning that like I would be addressed as a person or even have feelings or even talk to in a manner that, you know, let me know that they acknowledge what they've done to me. And I keep hearing from them, and there's no understanding of, or like the only thing that, for me as a business student and knowing what they've done to me, why would in my case I survived. In other cases maybe there's low survival. What would this profit the government to do? And the only thing I understand this to mean is that they try to do this to kill people. And they kill, from the inside. Um, and with that being said, there's indicators that shows that my family is very ill because they've accepted this as a way out of this world. I was just thinking in the bathroom this morning that, they've often said within the last 3 years that my body has amassed so much muscle after elements were changed in my hips or in my legs, and the nervous system was taken out of my body. And to include, I'm thinking that my major veins have been taken out. I don't know if that's how or what they say causes muscles to happen, but like the person who pretend to be, Tim, and Craig T. Nelson, a part of this as well with the muscle generation. And they say the lab in Utah called Endinogen has a subdivision where that muscle is developed and given to athletes, which, it sounds so crazy to me. But with that being said, my aunt said, at first I had no hips, now I have hips. And so basically, my aunt never had hips, and she is 67, and I think she's always active. And maybe, I mean, when I saw her in 2012, she looked like she was filling out, but she never really had a hippie situation going. My aunt, um, the other aunt that's very tall, who also is, she is stout. They call her, a very um, developed figure. I don't think she's, changed that much. And my dad, he actually pressed on my hips. They pressed on my hips, and I don't know if they were actually indicating something or whatever the case may be. I never really had hips either. I'm a small frame. And with that being said, if that is something that's an indicator, let me even say that my dad, who said something like, my baby sister is filling out, I was like, please don't worry about that, because as she aged, it will change. And I think she is, I don't even know how old she is. And so, um, in a lot of ways, when in thinking about that, I got angry. I also asked Richard if MK Ultra was used, or MK Ultra, or some type of um, problem. Say, for instance, Babe Ruth had polio, and he was able to grow out of it. And there's also information that says that he's a biracial American who was orphaned, and as he grew up, he grew out of polio, but for whatever reason, maybe perhaps someone touched his body. And so these people had the ability to use several different means, maybe two or three. Um, and so, maybe touched his body and helped rid him of polio, or maybe he just worked around it. And then I asked if, basically if these mind control experiments were done by Germany and if anyone caught them because, um, athletes like Jackie Robinson, I'm not saying that they actually see. Here's the thing: the premise is, I think Germany had something against the athletes when Jesse Owens was running in the Olympics in 1938, and so that's why the question came up. Who knows what these Olympians have gone through? I really don't think that the Germans actually think that with mind control that they were a what? The experiments have already been done, Pam. The experiments against the German Nazi army was to actually make them stronger. They were using demonic practices to do it too. They were using mind control of demonic issues, and so that strength is amasses to what, James Radcliffe? But the army does not do that. That mental toughness does not come from being having mind control. Mental toughness comes from being disciplined, James Radcliffe. What was your rank in the army? Anyway, these two fuckers think that the use of MK Ultra actually helped Germany when it didn't. Basically, they weren't even using MK Ultra when they were in the 30s to do this, and this is well after the Cold War. MK Ultra was being used in other places, and so with the articles that I've been reading, it's been used mainly in England, uh, China, and another country I can't remember. And they're using this as brainwashing. So it's up to the government what they fucking want to do. I don't care, but I don't want anything to do with it. I was not brainwashed, nor have I ever displayed brainwashing. And that form of brainwashing shows that you're loyal to a fault and that you will actually break the law for people who are wrong, and it is a matter of public safety when they do it. Will you go along with them? That is the question, and so that's the technical part of it. And I believe that that's not where I'm headed today, but I don't have to defend myself either about it because I know what they did was wrong. And with that being said, what I want to talk about today was even like what I was saying was if there was a propensity for Germany to use that type of technology on America, and if stupid people like Pamela Toll will understand that it has done, and within the last years of my life, shown as a disservice against the American government, because that same type of mind control, which she should understand, could also deliver us over to the same country that are doing that to us and that we have no control over, that they, since they've done that. So that we don't own that. Somebody else does, and it's not America. And she fails to remember that. So anyway, if those Olympians, I cannot go on to say that in that time, there was massive racial issues going on. That probably, you never know what happens to people, and my whole thought of bringing that up was if it happened to me, how far back did it go? Um, they were trying to kill me. And, I was told by Rich Ellis that I was shocked even when I was a child, when I was outside. And, maybe for whatever reason, something communicated to me, stay in the house. because someone was, actually electrocuting me. And he said that they did that at full strength to kill me as a child. And so, with that being said, again, in 1992, from what they're saying, other things happened. So basically, I also talked to Harry Windsor, and the fact that I do believe that they know in North Carolina, where I stay, that they have been controlled to an extent. They actually try to find ways to extort one another or find ways to live and cope with that. I do believe, like I'm saying, maybe like on a couple instances that my aunt was telling me that she had hips and now she doesn't. Well, I believe that, um, you know, like if my family knows, then my dad knows something, and then maybe he's being bribed and controlled not to tell me what happened to me. So they use me to as a form of a bartering system, or whatever the case may be, to allow other family members in my life. So they betrayed me, and they allowed that to happen to give my family money or jobs or access to money. They didn't do this like as a sign on or anything like that. They were actually extorted into this culture, and it's wrong to do it. And so I'm right at the end of the video that I want to shoot today. Um, Maybe I'll get into some texts and emails that I sent to the Department of Justice to, give some talking points and to actually use this as a therapeutic means to understand what's going on in my life. I'm hoping that the Department of Defense, or the DLA, looks at what they allowed Richard Ellis to do in the Navy. And so this is a Navy issue that probably should be taken, to, basically just leave it alone. It's honestly, if they haven't done anything in 40 freaking years, and it's like I'm almost 50, they're not going to do anything. So just, if he leaves it alone, then I'm fine. But, basically he is in a place right now where he says that he's retired and he has nothing to do. And he keeps talking to me. And so he said, when I was in North Carolina in the middle of April, uh, that he was trying to give me to the Windsors as a wedding present. Well, he's out of his mind, for that. And so I guess that's really the reason why I continue to make these videos. And I want to make sure that my family knows as much as they know, or maybe possibly, maybe somebody is doing something to help. And, for whatever reason, if they declare genocide against us, which I really do think is the case, um, I'm hoping that we can actually, have a way of getting away from this and keeping safe, because this has been hard to do, and it's hard to even deal with now. And like, I'm inclined to ensure that other people are not harmed. And see, based upon the environment where I live, there are so many people that hear me, and I don't understand how they do. I don't know. I don't understand if it's always just satcom or schizophrenia, or if the fact that they put EMF patches on me. And then there are over 5 million people that have had access to my information, from what I'm understanding. Um, Pamela said they made her the communicator, a communicator. You know, what? Communicate what? And, she doesn't help me. And so, um, basically, um, what that means to me is there's someone else who knows how this is happening. And, does the federal government either, help this along, move this along, or use this as an objective to kill people and say, oh, this person, is in an infraction to the government or knows too much about the government. What is the point of that when you have employees that you need to know certain things? And see, here's something that I thought that I got rid of when I was in acquisition. I thought about transparency all the time. And I think, one of the work aids that I actually created was an outline tool with which will help people to open up communications. I am a former National Contract Management Association member, and many of their tenets is transparency of the law, transparency of the process, transparency in even knowing how to advocate for the contracting process. And if they're using contracting as a way to do MK Ultra, is wrong. It's without an agenda. It is the wrong agenda, and they're trying to do it to say these people know too much about the government. Well, then how could you be a government employee and not know anything? And if that is the case, then who in the government says that that information has to be debriefed or taken from that person? See, in my case, I did not know any classified information or classified details. And I swear, and I knew that I swore, that for whatever reason, I should never be contacted by anyone who would need to declassify any information from me because I was not privy to that information. And all the information that I had was non-classified, or excuse me, unclassified. I had top secret clearances based upon one or two duties I had, but I did not need them in every case. And so what I'm thinking about, these people are unintelligent about the change in government. They are unintelligent about international war and the way they allow people to invade or exchange information. The information that was stolen from me, the way it was stolen by the federal government, that's of an invasion of privacy. The way they actually allow someone to sell my information, that's intellectual property rights theft or rights property theft. The way they eavesdropped and obtained it using EMF patches and demonic spirits, that's an invasion of privacy, stolen valor, and actually even the ability to present oneself as another person, called impersonation of a person. And so in many ways, these people have actually devised so many different levels of these things that will have transpired. And I don't know, based upon my personality, which I'm, probably getting ready to change altogether, which I really want something else to do. I don't want anything to do with these people, but based upon what they've stolen from me and based upon the goodness of, someone, which probably will never happen because this happened to the Tuskegee Airmen, even with what happened with them. Not their property, but their bodies were taken, and used, and they were, decorated posthumously, the goodwill that I've asked for in exchange for the knowledge that I have that could be valued at, I don't know, between 0 and 50%. I'm not really sure because a lot of the information I gave was detailed and like well thought out, or like I always knew how to ask questions, but the engineering part of it I never knew. And they said that, someone, saw, like, even from the way that I sat with my dad and my sister when we had an oyster bake, that they saw how I thought of how to create a pit from the there's a steel wash pot, and the slide that we had, and the way that my dad set the bricks up. And then my mom actually, it's actually probably both. My mom actually built a pit in the yard. And it's not like my pit now, but like they're saying that they saw that I was able to take, a modification in my mind and create something that was created into a modern pit, which I've not seen pits until, um, wow, I don't even know when. I don't know how long pits have been available. People in my area always use brick, and like it had a stack, and then it had an area for a rack, and it was just pretty easy that way. And anyway, so basically, um, you know, this thing, what they're doing to like hurt people because they're federal government employees or government employees is probably the wrong answer. There's probably a gentler way to ensure that this information isn't given. But based upon the internet, there's no need to, quote unquote, to emaciate a person. And then a lot of it is just the nuances between the contractor and the federal contracting agency. And so even with that, there is transparency and accountability for information. And even with that accountability, there is the debriefing of that to make sure that people are safe. Um, People just don't know. I mean, and maybe this is just the environment that I found myself to have worked in. The importance of using Joint Chiefs of Staff's directives, and using command supply discipline rules to ensure that people are actually inspecting and communicating with the vendor what those material issues are. And if there are material issues, then you just send it back. And somehow in the DLA's processes, they hate their cores. And with that information, which is well off of what this MK Ultra was, but they hate the people who inspect these companies. The surveillance may have failed. There's various types of surveillance that is happening, and they were actually on the mark so many years ago. In several of the contract cases where Richard Ellis has been involved, there have been problems with avionics. He has been trying to ride my behind since he's had a knowledge that I worked for a business entity that had nothing to do with avionics at the time, but it had something to do with a different element that was not even on an aircraft. That vendor did something and colluded against me with Richard Ellis to make me lose that job. And when I actually was reintroduced to the company in contracting, I thought that my higher ups were trying to delineate the problems in the supply chain. But in this case, they actually already knew about them. You never know if Richard Ellis and Pamela Toll actually went after the core, because, I don't know why I don't like that job feel. It's something about it. It makes me feel like the management don't protect them. I believe management gives them a lot to do. And many of them probably were in project management or engineering. And really, and that's a guess. But honestly, I just think that based upon how these people have treated me, they're either trying to take my disability from me and make me a core. And they do so many different things to people's psyche to make them feel like they're wanted, and then make them feel like they're not wanted. And then they keep driving home, different schisms, they call them, which are similar to neuroses. And schisms are schemes and different organizational issues that they actually try to find to create a anchor, which would it's a psychological contract, basically a fraudulent psychological contract where these people actually go through everything in your life to make you feel worthless and make you feel like joining the government, which I already felt that, you know, and maybe I'm over communicating, but that part is for someone who may be interested in working for the federal government. Even if you don't get this video, maybe, you might miss it. But the federal government is not our friends. Maybe we should hire robots because they really don't treat us worth a damn. And, and to come back after the fact and to discredit me, take something from me, to reduce my small business entry abilities, to keep doing it. I've had at least 8 since 2011. Even the Ring camera is mine because I had a 200, I don't even know the millimeter of the camera, maybe 250 millimeter that I was trying to take a picture of some loose parts for a set that I want to sell to Home Depot, which I probably should get involved in again to see, just to get something done. I took that to the local patents review clinic in Philadelphia at the art museum. They double-crossed me. They said that they would come back with a patent search. They never did. And when they came back with a reason, they said they had to find somebody else who could do it. I never heard back from them. And so since then, I've had at least 6 to 8 for myself, based upon material that I can touch. And then the others are just improvements that have been stolen by other people. And so basically, they've disrupted, and it's called a disruptor. And most time, hold on, let me look at this. Let me look this up. Business disruptors normally don't happen from within the federal government. It's between competitors. And so basically, even with competitors, you have to be careful that disruption does not include theft of intellectual property. And so hopefully this comes up. Industry disruptor is a company that comes to market with a new product or service that disrupts an existing market. In 1995 essay titled Disruptive Technologies Catch the Wave, Harvard professor Clayton M. Christensen regarded as one of the world's top experts on innovation. There were several disruptors, but then sometimes some of those disruptors are resistant to change. And so what this program probably is showing me are the use of it to kill me. Is showing me that the federal government has failed, like I thought I failed, and on many tenets with regards to foreign matters, with regards to foreign business policy, even the fact that, I know basically each state has a State Department, and anytime a foreign business wants to do business with the state, they have to register as foreign expatriates within that state to be declared and further delineated as a vendor doing business in the state. And, I turn in research about that. So if these people are stealing, they're not doing their homework. And in a lot of ways, what I'm experiencing is not even that. It's just not. I guess so. Let me just wrap it up. In a lot of ways, it's just based on what you know and how you figure things out, and based upon the information that you have, and that's called an observation. And many times, if that observation is a once in a lifetime thing, it's called an anomaly. In more than a few times, a trend is actually developed, and a trend could be over a span of several years, but it could be more than just the occurrence of three times. Most times people, um, in my case with not knowing how the failure of services was happening, that was not an anomaly. I had to find out for myself why things weren't happening. And in many cases, they just never happened. They never turned. I mean, people have helped me, but they've done it in a way that's outside and away from what Pamela Tall does to people. If they made her a communicator, they actually have use mind control on her. She knows it somehow. Maybe she doesn't quite know that she needs to be out of the business and out of the industry to protect other people. Then that should be communicated to her so she knows that. But she is too egregious and too gluttonous to understand that, and actually does not grace out. Grace out meaning use grace to understand that it's time to go. And so even, with that, and maybe I'm to the end of my rant here, that based upon, a trend of three or more things, to me, it would seem that it would be within that agency, that if I had problems with that agency, there would be an administrative review. And if any due process rights have not been followed, then I would have to have that taken to a court, and go through the processes there to determine what's going on. And civil rights is a little different, but in my case, my civil rights have not been, um, um, we'll say, disrupted to it in a way that's blatant. So this is why this is convoluted. And lastly, when I say it's based upon what you know and how you can express yourself, in a lot of ways, there's no way to express yourself. And I like to offer that way by letting you know that this, there's other people who have gone through this, who have communicated this, to let other people know that, contact as many people as you can to let them know what's going on in your life, and also contact the government and let them know that it's wrong. And maybe, hopefully, and I do pray that the United States nation's State Department underscores their recent article that England is their best partner. Let me go to that right quick, which I had a retweet or a response to it. Let me see. Yeah, it didn't appear. And for whatever reason, the other tweets about my aunt aren't there. And actually, that's probably why. And so, maybe I'll make another video. So I'm not poised on this. I don't purport to be. And that's the reason why I did have a bleph surgery, because I did have problems with my under eye area. Um, it was dark, and I'm finding out I possibly had other problems with my liver that as a child that I didn't not know about. Um, I probably should go through those pictures. I don't have any access to a lot of my pictures. That was digital. Blah, 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 on and on. This is a sob story I never wanted to tell. This really isn't my story. And maybe I just keep going till I get to it. But honestly, even that's suspect, because the people who do watch, they call it performance. And that's part of the Illuminati that they do express, which they do, people do um, want to be a part of your lives, and they feel like that you're welcoming them into your life to participate. And many of that participation has come out to be um, public corruption, and the ability to mislead public trust. And these people are stealing people's identity, like I said. And the more I talk about it, I guess I'll get a better format and tell you A, B, and C. Maybe come up with some PowerPoints as to what's being stolen. And that's probably easy to do. I can do that. So I've got the gift for gab. It's 50 minutes. I didn't want it to be that long. Hopefully CIA won't splice this into 2 videos. Sorry for the length. Sorry for the rambling. I will get better. I choose to help. I'm only here to help. Um, I want to work for a living, but I never want to use something to extort the government to get it. And I'm set apart from the people who work for the federal government now to do these things to me. I'm nothing like them. And I don't think silence will actually protect you. I think talking, I don't care if it's like a nursery rhyme or a story that your mom read to you and how you felt about it, a song, even, pudding. My mom made pudding, texture of foods, something that would allow you to think of what happened to you or if something has happened to you. And then, basically, again, the fact that I knew I was somewhere in a certain place and some people are trying to co-locate certain mind theologies or neuroses to cause me to actually wig out, which, thank God for talking through my emotions, talking about anime and talking about certain expressions of even different cultures as to even what that means. And, even watching anime and watching like the little spouting of the sweat or little antenna, or not even sweat, it's like the little beads that come off the head that the Japanese have actually captured so beautifully, that show that someone is actually either expressing themselves um, in a way to show a deep level and concern of anger. Even that anger is okay. That allows me to even do that. I've never been able to do that, or know what anger is. When you're put in a passive situation, how do you express anger? Or when you are in a leader or follower situation, which for me in the Army, I was like this: I'm going to tell you what I got to tell you. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. And I'm so glad that I had command supply discipline, because it allowed me to represent the commander. And once one person told me, you represent the commander and you have to talk about what is going on with his inventory and tell him how important it is for him to do X, Y, and Z. And there's just so many things that I can be grateful for. And I'm grateful for the ability to give back. So that's what this is. Um, Love it, hate it, like it, subscribe. I'm your friend for always. I'm a family member always. I'm an American first and foremost. And that's probably why I choose to talk to you and give back. This is hard, not easy, but you know, hopefully there's a rainbow at the end of the cloud, or the end of the rainbow. Sorry, a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Um, because I can't take the jury and the drab information about what our government has turned into and how they've used me, um, what they say they have. I'm not, based on what I'm experiencing and what's been reported in the article that I read about, um, I believe I have been exploited by the military, and or the CIA, excuse me, which should never have happened. Thank you. God bless. Talk to you soon.